And Enkodu really struggling. Quentin Paché, I think, is that in that first group.
Well, you can certainly say that these riders, especially Lucas Ericsson, also at the back in the black jersey with the red bike of Tudor Pro Cycling, another rider who has yo-yoed, but he's always fought his way back, still will continue as we head into the final 18 kilometers.
It's great because he's now a full-time pro, and I don't know how it was last year when he was at a third division team, but he's now with a pro team, so there's a minimum salary that you need to pay, and he's putting all his time into cycling, and we see that in the women's peloton all the time. Once the riders make the jump up to the World Tour and get to be full-time professional athletes, their progress goes really, really fast. And Lucas Ericsson, he's a great climber. It's not the first I've seen of him. I've done a lot of Scandinavian races where he came to Providence, but this is a good ride by him. I'm really impressed, and it's been like this in all the French races so far.
I would say he's one of those riders who's also a great all-rounder. He's got great climbing abilities. He's got a pretty decent sprint on him overall in a general classification. He's had some respectable results. One-day races he really thrives in as well. So for Lucas Ericsson and those riders, when they do make that jump to the next tier and they're able to have a full-time salary and they're able to really focus and put all their concentration into being the best bike rider that they can possibly be, also add in the resources that the team have with perhaps coaches, nutritionists, the physios, all the resources that come with a pro team, you start to see the riders really excel, and they make some very, very quick progress.
But he's not in a winning position just yet. 17 kilometers to go, and we still have Anthony Perez racing at the front. It's 1:05 at the moment as we are approaching Alex. The chasers are, I think, a rough estimate, 40 seconds back. Not that far back.
They'll have them in the sights on this road, won't they? They were just coming up to the right-hand turn, and so they'll be able to see this group that contains Julian Alaphilippe and Romain Bardet.
Gaudu, Corbin Strong, and there he is. This is a hard part of the course for Anthony Perez. There's absolutely no respite. There's nowhere to hide for him. He tries to be as low as he can be, although he could be on the drops, of course, being a little bit more aerodynamic, but he tries to be as aerodynamic as he can be.
It's a combination of the aerodynamics, but also the comfort. You can see when he's on his tops, he's able to bend his elbows and keep his shoulders and his head probably a little bit lower than if he was on the drops. There's a little bit more support for the hands on the tops of the handlebars as opposed to being on the drops. And you can see where he's trying to really utilize his body shape at the moment into this direct block headwind. They'll head over the Drome River soon. Back over this is the road that they've been on already today.
Yep. This is where we saw that breakaway suffer so much on the top of the broadcast. Hannah, we've got free climbs left. The first one is the Mur d'Alex. Do you have any stats on that?
It's that short, steep, grovelling climb that we saw earlier, but 600 meters, average gradient of 9.3%, but it maxes out at 19%. So it's quite a tough one, and it's where we saw a counter-attack go last year from Guillaume Martin and Benoit Cosnefroy. But only 600 meters. They'll crest the top of that at 13.7 kilometers to go. So really, it does provide a brilliant platform for any of these riders if they want to try and bridge across to Perez, who only continues to grow his advantage.
It's pretty crazy what he's doing at the moment, fighting against that headwind himself. And to remind you, we had 4 riders of Cofidis in that first group, so they really had strength in numbers. We saw a little bit of an attack there by Guillaume Martin, but it wasn't really anything. And then a well-timed attack at the foot of the Côte des Roberts by Anthony Perez. And they're just not getting any closer, despite the fact that they are with more. Look at the low water levels there in the Drome River. About 60% less water in the major rivers in France due to the lack of rainfall in the winter and the lack of snow, most importantly, in the Alps. But this is just against all odds, Hannah. This man on his own should not be taking time on a group that works or seemingly works together. From what we see, they work together, but he's just going a lot faster.
I think that's your key word, Jose. I think what we're seeing is Perez is so consistent in his speed, his power outputs, as you see here in this group now. Whilst they've been working, it's on and off. It's never consistent. Gordon on the front at the moment. Then you've got Strong. This is the second chasing group. Apologies. This is Simon Clark, Lucas Ericsson.
There is Alex, the town of Alex, and well, you could go around it. You could, but we're going straight through it all the way up to the church, and that's where we end up with these really, really big gradients. Then we have another climb to go called the Plateau de Soulier, and our finish climb is also a challenging one with gradients up to 13%, but 1.5 minutes already. This is just against my expectations, but it's great to see how this man is giving everything, really committing to this chase. He's been here before. This is the 4th time we are on the Mur d'Alex. There is a premium on top for the climb here for the departmental premium 26. There is the Simon Pelot fan club again, just like we saw yesterday. But it's not Simon.
The premium the previous time. But it really defies what I thought would happen here. I thought
it's crazy.
Into this final 42 kilometers, I thought there's no chance that a sole rider would be able to stay away from a group. What they don't have in that chasing group behind is that cooperation, and that is really vital if they're wanting to try and bring Perez back.
Yeah, there's only one team with 2 riders. And of course, if you do a lot of work now in that chasing group on your own, like, for example, say, Romain Bardet or Corbin Strong, of course you're not going to stand a chance in the final because you already completely emptied the tank. And this is all hugely beneficial for Anthony Perez.
It's who's willing to also risk that to try and bring the gap down, because we're at 1 minute and 37 now. This race is going away from that chasing group, including Baggioli, Alaphilippe. It's
crazy.
I'm speechless. This is such a tremendous performance from Anthony Perez.
And of course, the only team in that chasing group with 2 riders is Soudal Quickstep. But Alaphilippe won yesterday, Baggioli won here 2 years ago. Both are candidate winners there on today's finish. And I think they haven't really decided yet who's going to ride for who.
That's the thing. If you haven't had that communication of who is going to win and who's feeling good, who's got the legs after such a difficult, demanding day of racing, not only today, but also with yesterday in the legs. If they've not had that communication of who's going to sacrifice for one another, at the moment, they're with the strength in numbers, but not utilising it to the best of their advantage.
And like you said, this race it's just running away from them. This is the first obstacle done for him after this Mur d'Alex, and especially after the next one, the Plateau de Soulier. He still has a block headwind, but the gap is going up to 2 minutes. There's just no concerted chase. There's no agreement there in that chasing group. And in the chasing group, we have Alaphilippe, Baggioli, Rui Costa, Quinn Simmons, Romain Bardet, and Corbin Strong. But they're just losing time really, really fast. They still have that climb to do. They still have to go up to the Mur d'Alex, past the church, and then just a little bit further where the steepest part of the climb is. They're still on the climb. And Anthony Perez has already started the descent and on his way to the next short climb, which is the Plateau de Soulier. It's also very short, Hannah, but
it is only 500 meters. It's 500 metres. They'll crest that at around 9.8 kilometres to go, but with an average gradient of 7.1. And this is the move which we were waiting for. Is it too little too late at the moment from Soudal Quickstep, who tried to make their move now, followed by Quinn Simmons. There is David Gaudu.
Strong move there by Bajoli. Yep, strong move, but 1.5 minutes. It's a long way in just 12 kilometers. And yes, we do still have 2 climbs. We do have a block headwind, but Bajoli and Gaudu, they also have to navigate the block headwind, just like Anthony Perez does. But they take a little bit of time on Quinn Simmons. Rui Costa on the wheel. It looks like Alaphilippe really gave a lot yesterday, and it's up to Bajoli.
On this short part, now that Gaudu and Bajoli have a slight advantage over Quinn Simmons and Rui Costa, they're into this tailwind, and it's only momentarily. So it's going to be incredibly difficult for the duo behind to try and close the gap, because now they're already up to speed. They're already in chase mode. Here's Corbin Strong with Julian Alaphilippe, yesterday's winner. Just up ahead there is Romain Bardet.
And then our 2 chasers there at the front with Gaudu and Bajoli. Rui Costa is somewhere in between. 126. This is a really difficult part of the course, but yeah, the chasers have the same headwind to navigate with as Anthony Perez. Of course, he's already given a lot. He attacked on the Côte des Roberts, about 30 kilometers from the finish line. So this attack is already lasting 18 kilometers, almost 20. But look at that, he's very focused. He's 31, he's done 7 Grand Tours. This man is a very experienced bike rider. He knows what to do, and he also knows, Hannah, that these opportunities don't come often.
They're few and far between for Anthony Perez. He's only, I say only, but he's got 4 great professional victories to his name. But for him, all of his victories have come from either a sole breakaway or a small group that has escaped. And for Perez, he's very often the rider who's working for the team. He commits himself and he sacrifices himself for his the bigger leaders within that squad, Guillaume Martin, Brian Cocker, for example. Cofidis have had, I'd say, a very respectable start to the season already, with victories from Simone Consoni, also Brian Cocker, Jesus Horada. So it's not been a bad start for the French team.
It's been worse in the past, indeed. And of course, also, noblesse oblige. You know, they had 4 riders in that group. So they had to play a tactical game. And we had Lafayette there, Eddie Finet, Guillaume Martin, and Anthony Perez. And the funny thing is, if I play back that attack by Perez on that climb, you could actually see Alaphilippe look to his right and say, okay, you go. You just go. And it might be a costly mistake.
I think it will be. Alaphilippe had already made his move by that point, hadn't he? So I think perhaps it wasn't the rider from Cofidis that perhaps Julian Alaphilippe was expecting to make a move. I think if it was Guillaume Martin, as we saw a few hundred meters before that move, everyone was immediately onto and hot onto the heels of Guillaume Martin.
This is the second chasing group with Bardet, Corbin Strong and Alaphilippe. And the other group of 4 is just ahead. The gap is coming down a little bit for Anthony Perez. It was, of course, 1.5 minutes, just a little bit more than that, actually. 10 kilometers to go. We are on our way to the super short Plateau de Soulier. And then, of course, also that final climb. You can actually lose 30 seconds. If you're completely dead, you could lose 30 seconds on that Côte de Chaude, which is the finish climb. But he's climbing again.
With climbing onto the lower slopes of the Plateau de Soulier. Only nice 500 meters.
Yeah, it's nice to have a few people out there cheering for the riders in the cold, because today it's only 4 or 5 degrees. That translates into 40 Fahrenheit. So it's a really cold day, especially with the wind.
Another extra motivation there. I think a young girl at the side of the road with a Cofidis jersey on. So the Cofidis supporters are out. She'll be delighted.
They throw them. They throw them. Yeah, they throw them out in the publicity caravan for the Tour de France, or they did last year for Cofidis. So she might have picked up one there. 1:15 again, 10 kilometers to go. He's almost crested the penultimate climb of the day, but then has to navigate another 8 kilometers, block headwind, and it's 50 kilometers an hour winds today. That's about 32 miles of wind. This group is not that far back. The 4 chasers here, these are the chasers, and the group Alaphilippe is not that far behind. This is Quinn Simmons, Rui Costa, David Gaudu, and Andrea Bajoli, the winner of 2021. The first time we did this finish on the Côte de Chaude in Étoile-sur-Rhône. Rui Costa, of course, also one of those riders who could do a nice punchy finish. But still, we have a one-man breakaway. The one thing I said that was not going to happen, Hannah, with the wind conditions today, like a solo breakaway or even a 2-man breakaway, they absolutely stand no chance with this wind. And here we are, proving me wrong.
I would have thought the exact same, Jose, because of the wind conditions, and it just wasn't conducive. It wasn't in favour of a sole rider or a small group to try and stay away from a bunch of chasers. And despite that chase, it's still possible if they keep that cohesion, they keep that cooperation between the 4 of them behind, knowing that 2 of them at this moment in time are going to miss out on a podium finish as it stands. So for those 4 riders who are chasing, it's quite brutal, isn't it?
And that wind is not from the helicopter, I tell you, here in the conifer trees there. Looks like fruit trees here. The Rhône Valley is, of course, there's a lot of fruit here: apricots, cherries, apples. I think this might be cherry trees. And if you go on the right, Hannah, in May or June, you can just get yourself a handful of cherries and get a little bit of sugar. It's better than an energy bar, is it?
Delicious.
I once completely bonked riding around the Mont Ventoux, not up the Mont Ventoux, around, and there was this vineyard, and I just grabbed some grapes, and it was the best grapes I ever had in my life.
You can't get much fresher, can you? Freshly picked.
The chasers, look at that flag, it's in complete tatters there. She tries to, yeah, there it is, unfolded. 1:13 at the moment for Anthony Perez on this group, with Bajoli, with Gaudu, with Rui Costa, and with Quinn Simmons. And then 20 seconds back is the group with Corbin Strong and Alaphilippe and Bardet. But it looks more and more promising now for Anthony Perez. Of course, there is the wind here on this descent, but it doesn't really bother him much as the final 7 kilometers, when he gets back onto that main road and back into the wind. These are the chasers. This is group number 4, actually. This is the group after the group of Alaphilippe. So group number 3. But back with our leaders. We're now onto the main road. A little bit of instructions there from the team manager of Cofidis, Benjamin Giraud. Yeah, well, you don't need any translation from that. Universal cheering there. Look at that. Look at the focus there on his face. Trying to be as comfortable. That vein in his neck there, completely bulged. Trying to to keep that bike straight, to keep the handlebars straight and the front wheel straight here in the absolutely punishing winds here of this edition of the Faun Drome Classique. We're going to Étoile-sur-Rhône, which is basically just south of Valence, where we had our race yesterday. We did move to the other side of the River Rhône, not on the west side, on the east side today, but it's basically the same region that we are racing in. Yesterday we had wind, but it was about 25 kilometers an hour. Today, it's double that.
Well, it's not going to be Julian Alaphilippe's day.
And that's okay. You know, he already won this weekend. Win number 40.
Share the wins.
Absolutely. Gaudu there without any glasses, which with these temperatures and these winds, ooh, that's... I hope he doesn't wear contacts. but he has glasses normally, so I do think he wears contacts. With this wind, that's painful.
It is painful. Bagioli also opting to put his glasses into his helmet, and yeah, for me, it's when the wind is so severe as it is today.
Ooh, yikes. Always
keep the eyes protected. But for Julian Alaphilippe, you can see as soon as you're not with a group and you don't have any shelter or protection, just how hard
it goes downhill.
It does.
6.9 kilometers. The final climb is done. We only have that. Well, how many meters is like 1 kilometer, that final Côte de Chaude, with about 30% at about 500 meters to go, something like that? That really narrow road that we're going to take?
It is. It's that climb that's in 2 parts. They've already seen it on 2 occasions when they passed the finish line 2 times before, when they were doing the smaller laps, and now finishing on the Côte de Chaude for the 3rd and final time for the finish line. So it's... If Perez is completely spent, you can certainly lose some time on that climb, despite it only being 1 kilometer in length. We generally have a rule of thumb that for every 10 kilometers you can close a gap of 1 minute. We're just over that, and at the moment, with 6.4 kilometers to go, these 4 riders, they really have to keep this cooperation and cohesion. But I feel, and I fear that this is going to be the end for these 4.
Yeah. They have to pull something out of their hi-hats to catch this man. Look at that, such a big gear that he has on, really fighting against that headwind. And these are going to be 6 pretty tough kilometers, but he's got himself a nice margin there, a nice little buffer. Anthony Perez, rider for Team Cofidis, a team that was represented with 4 in the first echelon of about 30 riders. So yeah, that was about 120 kilometers from the finish line that they did really, really well. And he's now their man. Look at the wind there in the conifer trees. Absolutely crazy. Ostriches!
Hey!
Hey! I didn't expect ostriches. Look at how they're dancing. Look at that.
Very elegant, coming to take the best view of the race and to see the Frenchman win.
Ostriches are kept for their meat. Also, you can eat ostrich eggs, which I've seen clips on the internet, and I'm just going to pass on it. It's like a gigantic egg. It's like no, it's not going to happen. Our dog has funny story. Our dog has food with ostrich in it because she's allergic to cow, to beef. So she's got ostrich food.
But you're only the best for your dog.
No, yeah, but it was she was sponsored by a brand. I worked with a cycling team last year, and it was sponsored by a brand called Happy Dog, and all the employees and the riders' pets got free dog or cat food. Sadly, I left the team, so no more free dog food. But we still have a few bags here. Final 5 kilometers, 58 seconds for Perez. You can actually see the chasers at the back there. He has got a motorbike in front of him. On new bikes there, riding on Look, the Cofidis team, the iconic French brand, is back in the World Tour. 57 seconds for Anthony Perez.
Incredible control there on the right-hand side from the helicopter to be so low to get some brilliant shots from Perez. But this wind, with it being this open landscape, you can't see just how hard this part. We're into the direct headwind, 45, 46 kilometers per hour, straight into 55 kilometers per hour. The wind has gone up, and that is only the constant wind. It's not including the gusts that we've seen today of upwards of 75, 80 kilometers per hour.
Please go off the road. The only way they can actually still catch Perez if they do a team time trial. You know, completely work together, the 4 chasers, and do a team time trial, do a team pursuit there with the 3 of them. But of course, when all 4 units of this chasing group is now still have on their mind that they can actually win the race, they will all hold back just a little bit. and they don't go full gas like Anthony Perez does, because he's going 100%, and they all still have in the back of their mind, well, I can still win this bike race, so I might just save just a little bit, just in case we do catch him and I can sprint for the win.
And knowing what that finish is like, although it's a shorter climb, let's say, of the 1 kilometer, you still have those steep gradients that really bite, and when you've got tired legs and you're completely drained after such a difficult, demanding day of racing, you can really consider lose the race and completely collapse as soon as you start to open things up. So they still probably believe that they can try and take the win here, but at 55 seconds with 4.3 kilometers to go, Perez could be on to his first victory of the season.
Yeah, what a win that was. A win in a wind. Rui Costa, David Gaudu, Quinn Simmons and Bajoli. These are riders we'll all see back in Paris-Nice or Tirreno. Also, fantastic race by Corbin Strong and Alaphilippe. Yeah, he doesn't have it today. He gave everything he had yesterday and did a fantastic job, of course, coming away with his first win of the season. Look at that, 28 kilometers an hour going into headwinds here. 3.8 kilometers to go for Anthony Perez. This is a chasing group. This is not the first chasing group. This is a group with Dorian Gordon. These are the first chasers. They still don't have him in sight. These little twisty roads here are not really helping the chasers because they can't see him.
They really evade him, and it plays into the advantage of Anthony Perez, because whilst he's out of sight, he's certainly not out of mind, but it means that you've not got that motivation knowing that you are closing in on this lone leader who's out front. And a shake of the head from Julien Alaphilippe there as the motorbike rider just goes past and says, "You need anything?" "No, I'm fine. I'm just going to make my way to the finish."
He had a good weekend. Julien Alaphilippe was part of the winning move yesterday, was part of the winning move today, but then Anthony Perez went on a little bit of a adventure by himself. But Julien Alaphilippe, he only had a few race days before this weekend, only 3, so he will be confident going into Paris-Nice, Hannah. That starts next Sunday.
It'll be nice for him, won't it, if he can carry this confidence into Paris-Nice, knowing that he's got a victory under his belt. It always does so much for the confidence, the motivation, the morale of a rider, not just because, you know, physically you're in good shape, but mentally you've started the season off well, you've had good preparations during the winter, you've trained well, you've come in with that good form, and try and carry that throughout the season. It's also contract year for Anthony Perez. His contract with Cofidis ends at the end of 2023, I believe, so he also needs to get some good victories, some good results under his belt.
Nice little array of vintage fire engines and new ones. Yeah, 55 seconds or something was on the board. He will be confident. Of course, he has his sports director in his ear as well, watching the live stream, knowing that the gap is reassuring.
And you can see just from his facial expressions how difficult this has been for Perez out front on his own.
How long will it take to actually warm up after this race?
A long time. I think a good bidon of tea and some honey will be well received at the finish line.
The chasers past our little collection of fire engines there. Of course, the peloton passed here no less than 3 times, so nice little bit of publicity there for the collector of historical vehicles of the fire department. Final 2 kilometers. He's really fighting. He's shaking left to right, trying to keep those pedals turning. That was what I wanted to say. He's almost in the village. He gets a little bit of respite from the wind there, but he still has to do that final climb. But even with a minute, I don't see him get to a complete standstill on that climb. Bar the bad luck factor, which I hope will not happen to Anthony Perez, he has really put on an impressive performance. And And we said, Hannah, or I said, and I think you said as well, that those final 35, 40 kilometers will be a headwind. That's completely not a great idea if you want to go on the attack. But Anthony Perez, he had different ideas about our philosophy. I thought, well, hey, when you're saying that, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it's exactly what he does. It's fantastic to see.
It's almost an absurd idea that a rider would be able to hold off a chasing group behind into such a strong headwind, and he's, I think, defied us all and all the tactics in cycling that he has been able to do it, and alone he's been able to grow his lead over a chasing 4 riders at the moment. And 1,700 meters remaining, only a few turns. There's the one roundabout with around 800 meters to go. He'll take a left turn, take the right, and then he'll be really onto the steeper parts of that final climb, the Côte de Chaude.
It's really a moment to relish here for Anthony Perez. Like we discussed before, it doesn't happen to him quite often. He finds himself in breakaways. He's always the man at the front of the peloton working or being in that breakaway. But yeah, to finish it off, to be in a position to actually win a race, it's not something that happens all that much. He won one bike race last year, the Classique Loire-Atlantique, and he's on his way to his first win of the season, which is nice because it's the 26th of February and it's a lot sooner than his win last year. This will give him a lot of confidence. It will make his team manager and his team happy. And just like he said, the main sponsor is waiting at the finish line as well.
He is. He's been there this morning, so I think also that great motivation when you've got the CEO of your main title sponsor of Cofidis and Crédit Mutuel, Daniel Ball, at the finish line awaiting you. This is a big moment also for Cofidis. This is what they want to do. They want to show their team, their sponsors, they want to be winning the races. And as you said before, Jose, it's often that we always see this man in breakaways in Paris-Nice, the Tour de France, but today it's going to be his day to shine. Only 800 meters remain. It's been quite an incredible performance from Anthony Perez. 31 years of age.
3 victories so far for Cofidis this year. Brian Coquard got his first World Tour win all the way back in January in the Tour Down Under. Simone Consoni won a bunch sprint in the Saudi Tour, and Jesus Herrera won a stage in the Tour of Oman. So a pretty solid start to the season for the team from the north of France. They've been here forever. They have been around for 2 decades, Team Cofidis, and he knows that he has won this bike race, only the 6th win of his career, his 6th professional win, and the grimace is becoming a smile. That is great to see. This is absolutely top work by Anthony Perez, the 31-year-old from Toulouse, which is in the south of France, but all the way, well, down to the south. But he's not racing that far from home. He could take the car, drive back home and celebrate the champagne with dinner tonight. The applause is for him. It's another French winner here on the double-header weekend in France. Yesterday, a fantastic victory by Julian Alaphilippe in a 2-man sprint against David Gaudu. And today, it's a magnificent solo victory for Anthony Perez. The final few hundred meters to go for this man, a trusty domestique. He started his career with this team and he now rewards them with another victory. Absolutely stellar work there by Anthony Perez. 150 meters to go. The climbing is done. The smile is there. What a fantastic win for this man. Look at that. This is what we want to see. Maybe not the one rider we expected, but absolutely I am full of admiration for what he'd done here. A 40-kilometer solo into a headwind and a win for Anthony Perez. Bravo. Absolutely fantastic work here by this French rider.
Superb work there from Anthony Perez. What a stellar job. You see the beaming smile on his face of just how much this means to the 31-year-old Frenchman. And this is going to be the battle for second and third. 2 are going to miss out here. Baggioli, the winner from 2021. On the left-hand side at the moment, David Gaudu, second yesterday. Can he try and salvage something and finish on the podium?
It will be 2 out of 2 for Gaudu, but of course not that win. We'll have to wait until Paris-Nice. The attack comes from Bajoli until the final 200 meters of the climb. Bajoli wants to get onto that podium. Quinn Simmons as well. Rui Costa is also moving to the front. It's a nice little sprint there from the chasing group of 4, with second place there going to Bajoli. Well, we're not there yet. I thought the finish line was there. Rui Costa might actually still take it, but yeah, from this point, I can't see it. It's actually Rui Costa taking second, with Bajoli in third, Gaudu in fourth, and Quinn Simmons in 5th place. A little bit of a
opening up early there.
Schelmoser in 6th place. Georg Zimmermann comes in 7th place. Then it's up to Corbin Strong. There we are. Great ride by the 22-year-old from New Zealand. And Simon Clark also managed to get a top 10. Important because of the points that Israel Premier Tech wants. And there is Dorian Godon.
Admirable work done there by Matthias Schelmoser, and to still finish in the top 10. Good work.
Of course, one of the fan favourites as well. Romain Bardet. What a race, Hannah. That was all pretty exciting.
It's very, very exciting, and really we didn't quite know which way things were going to go, and whilst Cofidis had the strength in numbers, they had 4 riders in that group of 32 riders. They were in that position. It was almost their race to lose, but also other teams had strength in numbers. Soudal Quickstep, also Trek Segafredo. It was impressive. I mean, I'm delighted for Anthony Perez, for riders who spend the majority of their career as a domestique, a helper, those working for the main leaders within their squad. Their day is few and far between, and when they do get given that opportunity, when they think they can win a race and their stars align and everything comes together, it's wonderful when they're able to take that victory, and it all pays off. I think it's that reward for the hard work that they commit themselves and sacrifice to themselves, to their team, year after year.
Quentin Paché crossing the finish line there for Groupama FDG. And despite the cold, still many people out there to watch the finish of this race. Lucas Eriksson, Swedish national champion. Good result from him. Judo Pro Cycling getting quite a few wild cards. This is Guillaume Martin. He knows his teammate has won. So there will be champagne. Harry Sweeney just ahead of him, crossing the finish line there. There will be champagne for the 4th time this season for Cofidis. After 5 hours of racing in, well, frankly, grueling conditions. Strawberries are waiting for the new season there. But we're swinging back to our finish. Makes me a little bit dizzy, this shot there. But this is the moment that he attacked. We were on the Côte des Robert, and that means that we are still, well, 33 kilometers out from the finish line when he launched his attack. He still had 3 teammates in that group. It was just after the attack by Guillaume Martin. And there was no response, or no adequate response, because the gap for this man went out to about 1.5 minutes. Absolutely stellar work there by Anthony Perez, who must have had a great day. He must have felt like he was flying today into that headwind. On his way to the win. We're just going to interrupt the summary there for the arrival of Julien Alaphilippe. It's France, you know. Oh, yeah, we're back with our summary and our unicorn man. Nice to have him back on our screens. Back to the summary then with Anthony Perez really keeping his composure and the smile. It's still a little bit of a grimace there, and he can hardly take the arms off the handlebars because of the wind. But this is a full-on smile for the man from Toulouse. The Pink City, Hannah. La Ville en Rose.
Yeah, terrific victory for Perez. I mean, when he made that move after a flurry of attacks, first of all, starting off from Guillaume Martin, then it was counter-attacked by Julian Alaphilippe, and when Perez made his move around a kilometre from the top of the Col de Grand Limit, the hardest climb of the day, that was it. He was never to be seen again, and despite the attempts and the chase from behind, they've never really been able to make any inroads. And I think perhaps that lull from behind and the hesitation from behind, it certainly cost them.
Underestimation, maybe?
I think so. I wonder if because Cofidis had 4 riders in that group for the majority of the time, and they had Guillaume Martin. That was where all of those riders were expecting a move to come from. I don't think they ever thought that Perez would, despite attacking, would be the rider who would be able to hold the chase off and go on to take the victory. So perhaps a little bit of underestimation, but I think that just rewards Perez for all the hard work that he's done for Cofidis during his career.
And you need that.
You do need that, and it's great to see some of the underdogs go on and take victories.
I like underdog victories. It's always great to watch. Looking forward to hearing the interview. Hopefully we'll get the interview from Anthony Perez and hear about his story of the day. Racing continues tomorrow. Not tomorrow. We're not racing tomorrow, Hannah, here on on Eurosport. We're racing on Tuesday. And Hannah and I will be back with the Grand Prix Le Samain, which is the opening race of the cycling season in Wallonia. We start with the women's race, including really, really bad cobbles, absolutely the worst cobbles you've ever seen apart from Roubaix cobbles. And then we continue with the men's race. So the it's a bit like opening weekend plus, is it? The Tuesday of Le Samain.
Extended opening weekend.
Extended opening weekend. That is the right thing to say. So from France, we are making our way north to the not so pretty region of Wallonia. This particular region is not super pretty. There is pretty parts in Wallonia, of course, when we get to Flèche Wallonne and Liège. It's absolutely stunning, and by then we're end of April, and then the entire world is stunning. But first we go to Le Samain on Tuesday. This is the result of the Faun Drome Classique. Anthony Perez, Rui Costa, Andrea Baggioli, David Gaudu, Quinn Simmons, Skelmose, Zimmerman, Clark, Strong, Godon, Bardet and Quentin Paché.